the after-hours pool with my name and his room key. The keycard shouldn't have been on our counter. We don't stay at the Constance. We live 2 blocks away in an apartment that forgives more than we deserve. But there it was, next to the kettle, white plastic with the hotel's navy logo, slipped into a sleeve stamped 4RENE in tidy block letters. Under my name someone had written, with a fine black pen that knew how to stop, a time and a place. 11:20 p.m. pool level. On the back, small enough to pass for restraint. If you still want the truth, M. I tune pianos for a living. You learn patience when 2 strings refuse to agree about middle C. You learn to breathe before deciding which one is lying. Evan, my partner, hangs exhibitions for a museum that likes to be admired on Wednesdays. We've been together 5 years. We keep the good bowls within reach and 2 glasses near the sink because we built a rule out of water: pour before the sentence that changes a day. He had come home late with cedar on his coat and the quiet of rooms that pay to be forgiven. He kissed my neck and missed the place by half an inch, habit wrong-footed by new choreography. He undressed in the hall the way you do when the bedroom has started taking notes. We slept on the same mattress and practiced separate weather. Now the card warmed in my palm as if it had ideas. The Constance sits over the station like an apology. After-hours pool access is given to the kind of people who like to believe water keeps secrets. I walked because trains invite strangers into confessions that are already crowded. The night was cold in the way steel pretends to be honest. The front desk smiled at the card and said my name before asking for it. The elevator took me down with the satisfaction of good hardware. Pool levels smelled of chlorine and stone. The lights were lower than they needed to be because the architect liked the phrase cinematic. The water lay flat in practiced innocence. Towels were stacked in a perfect lie. He was there at the far end, sitting on the edge with his calves in the water and his hands behind him like a man arrested by his own body. Matteo. I had seen him around the museum, the stage manager the gallery hires when openings want to look inevitable. Taller than memory, hair that had surrendered to the hour, a black t-shirt damp at the collarbones. He smelled like cedar and the last of a lobby that still believed in itself. "You came," he said without triumph. Relief, like a door that hadn't squeaked when it was supposed to. "You wrote my name on a key that doesn't belong to us," I said, and the tile made my voice sound like someone who believes in nouns. He tipped his chin toward the lifeguard chair, unoccupied and embarrassed. He's upstairs telling himself how to be decent. He thinks he's meeting me to end it politely. "I thought you should have the room first." The way he said it told me everything he hadn't rehearsed. I stood close enough to see the freckles on his throat and far enough for breath to remain political. He didn't touch me. He reached for a towel and handed it to me like a witness. "How long?" I asked, because cutting beats admiring. 8 months, he said. The number sat on the tiles. Rain and an elevator the first time. The lobby sells permission with the carpet. He sent a photo of your breakfast and a complaint about a label, and I mistook that for virtue. I ended it twice. He replied with paragraphs I hated respecting. He stood and water wrote itself down his shins, and the line of his thigh and my ethics did the thing ethics do, count in a language the body doesn't speak. He stepped closer, so close the air changed temperature. His hand rose toward my neck and stopped an inch away. That inch was explicit. He talked without asking my permission. He held the pause like a man who has learned that wanting is not a command. He lowered his hand and he wasn't proud, and it was the most erotic thing in the room. The glass door clicked and Evan came in with the face he uses for docents. He sees all the objects first: towel, water, me, Matteo, the lifeguard chair, the inch of air that still had memory. He doesn't look at the pool because he knows which surfaces deserve attention. He closes the door with respect for hinges and turns his mouth into something that remembers language. "Okay," he said. "Soft, correct, not a performance." "You could have kept the card out of our house," I said, putting it on the stack of towels because flat things deserve flat surfaces. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said. "And then cowardice. I cheated. I told myself it was weather. I told myself home is a noun that survives rain. I used your patience as a permit. I liked being applauded by someone who hadn't watched me be kind at 7 a.m. I want this sentence to stop being the whole sentence." Mateo had walked to the wall like decent men do when it's time to let two others spend their oxygen. He watched my mouth with the accuracy of a man who reads light. He lifted his hand again toward my shoulder and stopped at the same inch. Heat wrote its petition. My body signed and my better nature stamped it later. Received, not approved. "What do you want me to do?" Evan asked, and I loved him for that grammar. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice. Once with the cleverness you're paid to curate. Once with small words that move air instead of furniture. I will decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said, and the pool let itself pretend to be honest. Mateo exhaled. He came over, close enough for breath to file a report, and put his mouth near my ear without touching it. The heat of it rearranged furniture and left no mess. "Thank you for not kissing me," he whispered. "We both would have called it justice." He left without making the door audition for punctuation. Evan and I sat on the low bench. Water forgot to be innocent. The keycard dried under the lights like a confession with good paper. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I still love him for that. We stood, and the pool made that sound water makes when it thinks it has been still long enough to be brave. In the elevator, he reached in reflex when a woman stumbled. His hand hovered near my hip and my body answered in a language I refused to live in. I didn't lean. A man is allowed to choose the boring tool that makes the lock turn. At home, the kettle auditioned for a bigger role. I told it no. He laid blankets on the couch with curator care. I slept like someone who had disassembled a device and wasn't ready to test it. In the morning he came back from the lobby smelling like nothing, adult cologne, and told me he had ended it. He told me the truth twice. In the museum language he used narrative like spackle. In small words he used honesty like a nail. He said he had confused spark with structure. He said he had liked being two men because one of them didn't have to be tired. He said he could be one if I let him do the work. I let him. It isn't a finale. It's the part no one retweets because it refuses to be loud. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and learned the distance between our bedroom door and our kitchen in a new way. On the 7th he came to bed and remembered my mouth with the lazy precision we taught each other early and almost forgot. Erotic is not a command. It's a compliance you volunteer after choosing. 2 days later, Mateo texted, "Thank you for letting me tell the truth under bad light." I wrote back, "Try it when nobody's lighting you." He didn't reply, which was the second most decent thing he did. Work became itself again. The Steinway at the conservatory had sulked through humidity. I coaxed the middle octave until it put its little tantrums down. At a church I told a choir director their pedal sounded like a secret they were tired of keeping. We eased the spring, and the truth sounded less like work. I watched a boy bring a bruised guitar to my bench and let him turn the truss rod a quarter turn with his own hand. the neck sighed into straightness. He looked at me like I had invented consequence. A week later, I saw Matteo outside the museum. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped needing him to be tall. He said hello without trying to own my afternoon. He did not smell like cedar. We stood under the awning long enough to absolve the weather. He left without auditioning for a moral. Here is the part people tell badly because it refuses to pay attention to drama. I wanted him. I wanted the inch, the heat, the ridiculous kindness of a hand hovering where it could have claimed. I wanted to make a mistake I could narrate. I did not. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is underrated if it makes tomorrow easier to like. Evan and I adjusted the frame of our days. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. Less reaching, better touch. We stopped letting the kettle set the tone. We stood near exits at openings for reasons that weren't about leaving. We invented a rule about sleeping with our phones in another room and another that says we will sometimes be bored on purpose at the same time. If another keycard lands on our counter with my name on its sleeve, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and not call it cowardice. If a hand lifts toward my neck, I will let the inch exist and answer in a tense I can carry past morning. I will choose verbs that keep us possible: end, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I strike middle C and feel 2 strings agree like a room remembering its manners, I will think of the night we argued for repair in a pool built for spectacle. And I will call that deliberate air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the one that still holds when daylight forgets to be kind.